I became jaded around 2019. It was literally like, all right, I'm gonna go record this album, and you know, it probably isn't gonna go anywhere. And then COVID happened, and it was just, and we had already kind of opened a discussion with Metal Blade, and then COVID happened. And they were just like, yeah, deal's off the table for right now. Sorry, guys. And I was just like, of course.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time in the channel, hit subscribe right now. This went all of a sudden pretty fast. You know, not many bands put out their first album with Metal Blade, have a second album within 2 years, and are playing all over the world. In this crazy schedule, do you even have like time to take a step back and appreciate that, or is it just like non-stop going?
I try to stay present in the moment and appreciate everything that's been coming our way, all the opportunities. You got to stay grounded. That's like my best advice I can give to aspiring musicians and bands that are on the way to trying to come up. Yeah, you just kind of have to appreciate it and treat every tour like it could be your last.
A lot of bands, you know, will tell you that writing a second album is the hardest in their career as a band, because you've had years to live up to that first album, and you know, have tried out so many different things, and then all of a sudden now you have to prove yourself, unless you've got a ton of extra stuff from the first round still lying around. What was that for you guys? Because this album comes quickly following the first one. Was it also very hard, or was it quite easy and there was a lot of stuff still, you know, lying around?
Well, the situation with the first album and how long we sat on it before it was actually released, like we signed the deal in 2020, so they were waiting around to see if the world was going to open up, right, and we can tour it. So we sat on it for a little while, so we had already started writing new material before the first album came out. It was slow going. We really weren't in a rush, so nothing really got finished immediately. We kind of just would start writing this, start writing that, and I think about 6 months prior to when we went to record the album in January, I believe it was, earlier this year, I think we all put the fire under our butts a little bit and was just like, all right, let's finish these songs. Right. And that it really worked out, because we had a blueprint for like a year and a half for what the next album was going to sound like. We just had to go and finish it up and go put it on tape.
For a lot of people that are going to see you, it's going to be the first time they see you since both these records came out. So is this going to be a tour promoting both albums, or is the focus going to be more on the latest?
The one coming up, it's going to be kind of a mixed bag, because we do have, we just had a single that dropped the other day, and we had the first single off of the new album Errors drop in the middle of the summer before we left for Europe. So we are basically promoting the new album, and half of the set, maybe more than half of the set, is going to be the new album. And it depends night after night. You know, we might have a 30-minute slot here or 45-minute slot there. It depends on what part of the tour we're on. But I think it's going to be a mixed bag. But we're basically promoting the new album. That's the idea. But there's a lot of people that haven't seen us that listen to that first album that want to hear certain songs, and we understand that. So we've kind of curated a cool way of doing that. Night after night, might take a song out, add an old one, or add a couple old ones. Kind of depends on the area and the fan base that we have, that we know we have over there, you know.
Given that you've been working on this album for quite some time, even before the previous album came out, was that, you said like we had a bit of a blueprint where we wanted to go with the album. Was that, do you mean purely on the songwriting, or also more on like with the sound and production wise? Because and maybe that's just me, but for me, this album is on a whole next level when it comes to the production.
Oh, thank you. No, we really didn't think about that starting out. We just knew where song structure was going to go. We knew we wanted to go a little bit more vocal heavy and less busy on the instrumentation. Make it to where it's a little bit more easy to bob your head to at times, because the first album, there's a lot of spastic stuff going on.
Yeah, there's like noise rock influences there.
Big time. Yeah. And we just kind of wanted to go in a little bit, I don't want to say polished direction, but we definitely wanted to let it breathe a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think production was just purely on everybody that was part of it behind the scenes. We gave an idea of what we wanted, the drums to sound like when we throw like 5 albums that way to the guys that are mixing and stuff like that. And we tried all kinds of different things. We were very lucky to have everybody back on this record, but it was really cool to work with our friend Andrew Hernandez in Austin, Texas. And it was about a week. We went out there and worked basically like 12-hour days for just 7 days straight. And it was a pleasure. It was a really cool experience, and would totally do it again with Andrew.
Now, with all the extra support and the professional teams around you, and I mean, sure, you already had Metal Blade with the previous one, but they're here again. You've got some world-class PR team supporting you. You've got really good people behind all the machinery. Crow has said that that support and that kind of like push from some people has helped her when she was like writing songs to be more genuine, if you will, more honest, more vulnerable. Like I think she said specifically in another interview that I didn't feel the pressure that everything had to have a happy ending this time around or what have you, and that's a little bit more real. What was the learning curve for you as a drummer? And you said like a little bit more polished sound, a little bit more breathable, less chaotic. That means that your drumming style also has to be significantly different. So what was the biggest learning curve for you this time around?
Try not to fit all the cool stuff in one spot, or try to overplay and try to complement more the song. And I think I've always kind of had that mindset, but I think this album I tried to really just kill the ego and just go in there and try to cater the song as best as possible. And there would be times where the guys would be like, hey man, you could play something a little bit extra right here. That'd be cool. And I'd be like, say no more. Like, I got it. But yeah, I am a very less is more drummer. I don't play double bass or anything like that. I have if you listen to the record and you see my drum setup, it's kind of funny because it's basically the blueprint of like a Radio Star setup. It's very small. I try to use as little as possible and try to make it sound like as big as possible on the records. And people see me live and they're just like, whoa, that's kind of wild that he's doing all of that, and he's just getting all these sounds out of just 2 cymbals and a hi-hat and 3 drums or 4 drums. So it was a cool experience. I think this time around it was definitely a little bit more relaxed. I wasn't trying to, and also a little perspective too. The first album, we weren't signed to anybody when we were recording that.
Right.
Like we were kind of in a weird spot as a band. We didn't know if things were going to go anywheres at that point. It was really Tyler that was like our guitar player that was fueling the fire. Like, we need to go record this. And I was just like, all right, whatever. Because we had been through so many different projects and a couple member changes, and I became jaded. Around 2019, it was literally like, all right, I'm going to go record this album. And, it probably isn't going to go anywhere. And then COVID happened. And it was just, and we had already kind of opened a discussion with Metal Blade, and then COVID happened. And they were just like, yeah, deal's off the table for right now. Sorry, guys. And I was just like, of course. But everything kind of came full circle. 6 months later, we went back into the studio. We recorded a few more songs to add to the record, and Metal Blade wanted to keep talking. They were back in the office, and they wanted to move forward with a potential deal. And it was really just like everything just got flipped on its head a little bit, and it was like, oh wow, dreams can do come true. Like, it was
There you go.
very humbling. So yeah.
I was learning a comfortable space.
You know, if you ask the band, I think you guys would categorize yourself as a hardcore band. There's a lot of stuff and a lot of influences going around in your sound, which makes also possible for you to play with so many different bands. And then, you know, Metal Blade again is a great roster of that. And we've seen you play, you know, from Deftones to Sepultura and everything in between. You guys can play with that. Do you see very like different reactions from different crowds when you're supporting or playing with usually different bands?
Yes, it's definitely diverse situations we've been put in. Some crowds get it, some don't, but they like it, so they don't know what to do with themselves a little bit.
Right,
like
right.
reaction wise, like they don't start pushing, they don't start pitting or anything. They'll just sit there and just kind of bob their head a little bit. And then there's some crowds we play in front of that totally not only get it, but are just immersed in it, and
Right.
crowds just going nuts and stuff like that. In Europe, it was like that a little bit. I mean, I think that's a little bit of a culture difference too, because some of those countries really don't pit. they don't push pit, they don't mosh, they don't do anything like that. The way they support you is just sit there with their phone and they'll take as many videos and tag you as possible.
Right.
And then there's some countries that absolutely just went nuts. And you know, in the States, it's a mixed bag too. Kill Switch was an amazing opportunity that we took advantage of, and we won a lot of people over. And you could see how like the first two songs they're like figuring it out, and then like by like middle of the set, you see videos of people like crowd surfing and going nuts.
Yeah.
It's been cool, because we've went on some interesting verse tours. I mean, we've been on the road with I Hate God numerous times. The Kill Switch thing. We're about to hit the road with Zayo. Shout out Zayo. And those bands are all over the place genre-wise.
Right.
And we kind of we're like a chameleon in all of it. And it's been really cool.
Here we go again. Here we go again.
To wrap us up, one particular song obviously stands out. I mean, for me, Trauma Bond stands out in a way that I think it's an awesome track. It's probably my favorite song on the album so far, and I can only imagine that song doing really well live, especially in the countries where they do mosh pits. The final song on the album is obviously unique as well. The song Nora is a very different vibe, much more intimate. And Tyler has said that we should look at this song as really the first song for the next album, and that it sets the stage for what's to come. So you guys are already working on album 3, 4, 5, and 6, and you know exactly what's going to happen.
Yes and no. Me and Tyler have been playing in a lot of bands since we were kids. One of the prominent bands when we were in college was a instrumental band that was very heavy and pretty, and no vocals, no samples or anything crazy. It was just very straightforward. And that last song on the new album, Nora, is very reminiscent of that.
Okay.
And I don't know if we're necessarily leaning towards doing a whole album like that. I think it's just a taste of our background and what we'd like to infuse into the newer material down the line. I don't think we'll ever get away from loud amp guitars, rumbling bass, and big drums. I think there's just going to be a slight pivot maybe here and there on some tracks on the next album, or it might be on all tracks, but it might all be mixed up genre-wise. I don't know. It's a journey, and I think we're all very excited just about what's to come. We're excited about this album. I haven't been more proud of any project that I've been a part of. So I'm very excited for it to come out and see what the reception's like and play these songs live and introduce it to the world.
Awesome. Well, Jeremy, on that wonderful note, we'll wrap us up, and I'll let you go back to all the busyness that you need to take care of before you can go on the road again and promote the hell out of this album. I agree with you. I think I agree that you should be very proud of this album. I think it's like I said before, I think it's a big step up from already a great album before. It's one of my favorite hardcore band albums of the year so far. So really excited, and I hope to get to see you guys on a stage. Whether I'm surrounded by people holding their phones and just tagging you, or whether I get some fists in my face, all good, all good. I'll see you on the road, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
All right, thanks, Jasper. I appreciate your time, man.
Uplifting yourself doesn't come from a place of hate, like you told yourself.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it, and subscribe to the channel.